The world praises the sharp mind, the analytical engine that never stops grinding, but they never see the smoke. They do not see the moment the gears begin to melt under the friction of 1,000 hypothetical scenarios. You were told your mind was your greatest weapon, but no one warned you it could turn into your prison. This is not the fatigue of the body. It is the structural collapse of the soul under the weight of logic. The static starts small, a faint hum behind your eyes that you dismiss as mere sleepiness or a long day. But this isn't sleepiness. It's the structural failure of a machine that never learned how to properly idle. You have spent years dissecting the world, looking for the patterns, the traps, and the hidden meanings. You have treated every social interaction like a chess match, and every personal choice like a grand strategy. But the human brain was not designed to carry the burden of infinite variables without eventually breaking. Intellectual burnout is the silent killer of the gifted, the curse of those who see too much and feel too little. It is the moment when the light of your intellect becomes a blinding glare that makes it impossible to move. When you reach this state, the very act of thinking feels like dragging heavy chains through thick, dark mud. You look at a simple task, and your mind immediately begins to simulate 100 ways it could go wrong. This is the paralysis of analysis, where your intelligence becomes an anchor rather than a sail. The shadow of the thinker is the void of the doer. You have thought so much that you have forgotten how to be. Society rewards the always-on mentality, but for the high IQ individual, always on is a death sentence. Your brain is a high-performance engine, and you have been redlining it for years without a single oil change. You feel a strange sense of alienation, as if you are watching your own life through a thick pane of glass. The things that used to spark curiosity now only trigger a sense of profound and overwhelming dread. You find yourself staring at a screen or a book, the words floating like dead leaves on the surface of a pond. The data is there, the logic is sound, but the connection to your will has been severed by overexertion. This is the whiteout, the moment where the blizzard of your thoughts becomes so dense you lose all direction. You might think the answer is more information, more self-help, or more optimization of your daily routine. But you cannot fix a house that is burning down by rearranging the furniture inside the master bedroom. The problem isn't that you lack the answers. The problem is that you have asked too many questions at once. Every why you have uttered has added another brick to the wall that now stands between you and reality. The intellectual believes that everything can be solved with enough thought, but thought is what created this. We live in an age of information overload, but for the overanalyzer, it is an age of psychological drowning. You are drowning in a sea of your own making, pulled down by the weight of every what-if you ever entertained. The burnout doesn't happen because you are weak. It happens because you tried to be strong in the wrong way. You tried to outthink the chaos of life, forgetting that life is inherently chaotic and beyond your control. There is a deep primal fear in the intellectual that if they stop thinking, they will cease to exist entirely. They fear that if the engine stops, they will be exposed as a fraud, or worse, as someone who is ordinary. But there is a profound power in the ordinary that the high IQ individual often misses in their pursuit of depth. The burnout is your brain's way of forcing a hard reset because you refused to press the button yourself. It is a protective mechanism, a circuit breaker that trips when the voltage of your anxiety gets too high. You feel guilty for your lack of productivity, which only adds more fuel to the fire of your mental exhaustion. You judge yourself by the standards of a machine, forgetting that you are a biological entity with limits. The shadow self whispers that you are losing your edge, that your best days are behind you, and you are fading. But the shadow is a liar. It is only showing you the reflection of your own fatigue in the dark mirror of fear. To heal from intellectual burnout, you must learn the most difficult skill for a thinker, the art of surrender. Surrender is not giving up. It is the conscious decision to stop fighting a war that cannot be won with logic. You must learn to exist in the spaces between the thoughts, in the silence that precedes the inner monologue. The world will tell you to push harder, to find a new system, to biohack your way back to peak performance. Psychumbra tells you to stop, to sit in the dark, to let the fractured pieces of your mind fall where they may. The exhaustion you feel is a sacred signal that you have reached the end of a certain way of being in the world. You cannot think your way out of a hole that you dug with your thoughts. You must simply stop digging. The lone wolf often prides himself on his mental stamina, but even the wolf must sleep to hunt another day. Your brain has quit because it is tired of being used as a tool for your ego's endless quest for certainty. Certainty is an illusion, a ghost that the intellectual chases until they collapse from sheer frustration. The more you know, the more you realize how much you don't, and that realization can be a crushing weight. But it can also be a liberation if you allow it to be. It can be the permission you need to finally rest. Imagine your mind as a landscape that has been overfarmed, the soil depleted of every single nutrient. No matter how much you plant, nothing will grow until you let the land lie fallow for a long, quiet season. You are in your fallow season now, and the harder you try to force growth, the longer the recovery will take. The intellectual burnout is a rite of passage, a descent into the underworld of the self, where logic is useless. You are being stripped of your intellectual armor so that you can finally feel the raw texture of existence. It is terrifying to be without your thoughts, to be empty in a world that demands you be constantly full. But in that emptiness lies the only true peace you will ever find, a peace that does not require an explanation. Stop looking for the root cause of your burnout. The search for the cause is just more of the same disease. The cause is the search itself. The cure is the cessation of the hunt for a reason to justify your being. You do not need to be useful or brilliant or efficient to have a right to take up space on this earth. The burnout is stripping away the false identities you built out of facts, figures, and clever observations. When the brain quits, the heart has a chance to speak, though its language is often unfamiliar to the thinker. It speaks in feelings, in physical sensations, and in the quiet pull of things that have no logical value. You might find yourself drawn to simple things, the texture of wood, the sound of rain, the taste of cold water. These are not distractions from your real work. These are the anchors that will pull you back to reality. The high IQ individual often lives entirely in the upstairs of their mind, neglecting the rest of the house. Burnout is the foundation cracking, demanding that you come down and tend to the neglected parts of yourself. It is a call to integrate the shadow, to acknowledge that you are more than just a biological supercomputer. You are a creature of instinct and emotion, and those parts of you have been starving in the dark for too long. The fatigue you feel is their hunger. The fog in your mind is the smoke from their desperate small fires. Do not fear the silence that comes when the thinking stops. It is not a void. It is a fertile darkness. In the noir of the soul, we find the truths that the bright light of logic always manages to obscure. You are not broken. You are being recalibrated by a system that knows more about your needs than you do. Trust the exhaustion. Honor the burnout. Let the world turn without your constant supervision for a while. The sun will rise whether you analyze the physics of its fusion or simply feel its warmth on your skin. The people who rely on your brilliance might be disappointed, but their expectations are not your burden. You have spent your life meeting the demands of an invisible audience that never truly cared for your well-being. Now is the time to be selfish with your energy, to hoard it like a dragon hoards gold in the deep of a cave. The intellectual burnout is the death of the expert and the birth of the observer within your psyche. An observer does not judge, does not categorize, and does not seek to optimize the things they witness. They simply see, and in that simple seeing, the nervous system finally finds the signal to power down. You are entering the gray zone where the black and white of logic bleed into a mist of pure potentiality. Do not try to navigate the mist. Just stand still and let it wash over you until the air becomes clear again. The specific type of exhaustion you feel is a badge of honor, a sign that you have pushed the limits of thought. But even the furthest frontier has a boundary, and you have reached the edge of the map you were drawing. Beyond this point, there are no more diagrams, no more footnotes, and no more peer-reviewed certainties. There is only the experience of being, which is the one thing your intellect could never quite grasp. The paradox of the smart person is that they are often the last to realize that they are being stupid with their health. They believe they can negotiate with biology, that they can bargain for just one more hour of peak focus. But biology does not negotiate. It simply collects the debt you have been accruing since you first overthought. Pay the debt now. Pay it in sleep, in silence, and in the total abandonment of your precious to-do lists. The world can wait. Your projects can wait. The problems you need to solve will still be there tomorrow. And if they aren't, perhaps they weren't truly problems to begin with, but just ghosts you were chasing. We are Psychumbra, and we know the weight of the shadow that follows every bright and searching mind. You are not alone in your fatigue, though the very nature of burnout makes you feel like a solitary island. There are thousands of us sitting in the same dark, waiting for the smoke to clear from our own engines. There is a strange comfort in knowing that even the most powerful minds have a breaking point. It makes us human. It connects us to the dirt and the stars in a way that an equation never could. So let the brain quit. Let the logic fail. Let the silence be the only thing you listen to for a while. The burnout is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a chapter written in a much deeper ink. You will return, but you will not be the same person who left the field of battle in such a state of ruin. You will be slower, perhaps, more deliberate, less prone to the frantic twitching of the overanalyzer. You will have learned the value of the no, and the even greater value of the I don't know. Wisdom is not the accumulation of more thoughts, but the shedding of those that no longer serve the soul. Your burnout is the shedding process. It is painful because you are clinging to the old skin so tightly. Let go. Peel away the layers of expectation and the crust of intellectual arrogance that has built up. Beneath it all is a quiet, steady pulse that doesn't need your analysis to keep beating in the dark. Listen to that pulse. It is the only logic that matters now. It is the only truth that won't burn you out. The path back to yourself is not a climb up a mountain of facts, but a descent into the valley of feeling. Take the first step by doing absolutely nothing, by being unproductive in the eyes of a dying society. Your worth is not measured in the complexity of your thoughts, but in the depth of your presence. Burnout is the mind's way of demanding that you finally show up for yourself. rather than for your ideas. The shadow is long, but it is also cool and quiet. Rest there. The light will find you when you are ready. This has been a transmission from the shadow of the mind. Sleep now, thinker. Your watch is over for today. The gears have stopped. The fire is out. The silence is finally yours to keep. Do not give it away again. Remember, a mind that cannot rest is a mind that cannot truly see. Find your sight in the stillness. We will be here when you wake up, but for now, just drift into the charcoal black of the unthinking void.